Alright guys, in the spirit of LS second gen Commodores, check this thing out. Real nice, only here for a tune. Stock 6 litre in manual. Really well done conversion, quite nice. Previously when it was V6, apparently someone did it up as like a bit of a power cruise car, but it didn't last long, the V6 popped. But whoever did that obviously put some really short diff gears in it, has like 444s in it. So it's pretty spicy, even though it's only a stock engine, the 444s being a manual. It's pretty nice, and just real tidy inside, much like the VR we're doing. Just thought I'd throw this in the same video. But yeah, 388 horsepower at the wheels, which for a stock 6 litre, particularly in like not the car that it came out of, is really good. That's a really good result. So healthy little engine, healthy little setup. The only problem we've had with this thing is this rubbish thermo fan just doesn't work hardly at all. We've obviously we've been able to get around that, but he will want to sort that out. But yeah, I just wanted to show this off in the spirit of LS converted second gens. So very nice tidy car. It's good to see nice tidy examples getting around, much like the red one we're doing. Very nice, all wired by Tyler there at Rewire in Cunda Park. So very nice little conversion. Another car, another day. I'm a real big fan of this thing. So this thing got dropped off this morning. It is schmick. Let's see what it, whoa, look at that. Hey, wicked stance, love the wheels, just love it. Love a good second gen Commodore. Really nice, as you know from my VS, which has never been finished. It's sat there for being neglected for 4 years. Silly barra. But anyway, I'm a big fan of the second gen Commodore. These things are nice. And this thing, the color, the wheels, it just looks fat. I'm a huge fan of what this is, and I'm a big fan of what we're gonna do to it. So we've got here nice LS1 setup. As you can see, no AC car. It is just a solid rear end version, which is awesome. That's good. So we've got ourselves a Borgie 78 back there. Young fella owns this. He's definitely on the right track. I really am a big fan of how he's going about this whole project. So just a stock LS1 at the moment, stock 4L60. You know, just a basic, nice, tidy conversion. As you can see, everything in here is pretty standard, pretty stock, and it's really tidy. So I'm a fan of just tidy stuff like this. So what it's here for, complete cam package, complete cam upgrade, what we'd normally do to any other Commodore. It's just in a converted VS. Now, I'm really excited about this particular combo because the owners have allowed us to essentially go all out as far as a max effort stock bottom LS1. So you've seen us do what we're going to be doing to this car a heap of times in Commodores, and we've even done testing with the LS6 manifold with the standard throttle body versus a 92mm throttle body with a 3 to 4 bolt adapter. And essentially that testing has been inconclusive, well, conclusive, but not favorable, for the simple fact that it appears that the opening for the LS6 manifold is ultimately the restriction regardless of what throttle body's on it. So what we have found is that 92 stock throttle body doesn't really make a difference. However, we are still finding in our logging for our tuning that we are still getting to a point where it is starting to pull vacuum, which, you know, it means that there is still a restriction. It's just that the throttle body isn't the restriction. So what we've got going on this one, we actually had an LS2 manifold in the container, which I sold to this client, as well as I had some 243 heads sitting there that I also sold to this client. That's how excited I was about the fact that these guys were going to let us go max effort stock bottom LS1. I actually sold them the things that I had set aside sitting in the corner, just for the fact that we were actually going to be able to test it on this setup, and realistically I'm not going to get to a point where I'm going to use those parts for myself anytime soon. So the 243 heads have already been CNC'd by Tremaniac / Next Gen Engineering. So we've got ourselves our CNC'd 243s, and we're going LS2 intake manifold with a 4 bolt cable 92mm throttle body. So I'm really interested to see finally how much of a restriction this LS6 / LS1 intake manifold is versus the LS2 manifold that has the bigger opening with the bigger throttle body. So anyone who watches the channel can probably guess the cam choice as far as being a cathedral port LS. It's going to be the Crocam's 1212, which we just have sworn by since the day we put it in an engine. Since we cammed my Statesman with that cam, I love that cam for these cathedral ports. It is such a good grind, awesome results. We're really excited. So essentially, without going through bonnet, high-rise manifold, like a Holly split design high-rise, which we've had good results out of, or something like a Victor Junior or something. As far as keeping everything under bonnet, this is going to be max effort stock bottom LS1. I'd say, you know, like I said, again, without going through bonnet intake, that sort of thing, this is as far as you could take a stock bottom end LS1 before having to go to power adders and different pistons to get compression or more cubes. So we will be running a 3500 stall, I think I ordered for this. So it's going to be fairly cranky, fairly angry. Got a 3500 stall, so that's obviously going to be a little bit taxing. See how the 4L60 goes, but ultimately they want it set up for things like 8th mile drags at lakeside, roll racing, no prep, that sort of thing. So he's not going to do much highway driving at all. Obviously he's got big tires, so we're going to go 3.7s for the diff. 3.46s would probably be my pick if he was concerned about highway driving, but given the fact that he's not, keen to go 3.7s. It'll also get a big transcooler, which I just bought a PWR transcooler, and I'll get Bo to make his own brackets, etc. But yeah, converter, everything else. The biggest thing we've got to sort out is some sort of intake situation, solution, airbox, something. Not sure yet, but we need to sort it out anyway because we've got our other maroon VR back there, which we're LS converting, which we also need to come up with a solution for. So that's that. Anyway, we'll tune back in when I'm back at work and we'll see what's going on with this one. So, see you in a minute. All right, guys, so I'm here briefly today, just before I get going. We've got the big VS on the dyno, get ready to do some pre-runs. I didn't even realize until Rex let me know yesterday, but they actually had Mickey Thompson street radials on the back of it now. PSR. Oh, so they're PSRs, not Mickey T's, my bad. But either way, street radials. Now, just a pro tip for anyone watching. This goes for anybody watching. It's counterintuitive. You would think, hey, street radials, they hook up, they're real grippy, they'd be great for the dyno. No, they're not. They just aren't. Now, the problem is, with the dyno, you've only got X amount of roller diameter. So our rollers are quite small. So when your wheel is going around and around on the same part of roller over and over and over, it generates a ton of heat. Way, way hotter than them tires would ever see at the track. And the problem with that is they just get too hot, and they start to melt, they go real soft, and they start to either delaminate or bubble or straight up just disintegrate. So I know it sounds counterintuitive, but never take your car to a roller dyno like this with any sort of slick street radial. It won't like it, it'll destroy the tire. So we did have to find another set of wheels. We have a set of Commodore wheels in the container for this specific reason, so not a big deal, but we had to swap them over in the morning. But I digress, just wanted to point that out there for anyone watching, because it's just a good little tip for anyone taking their car to the dyno. Now, the biggest issue we've got at the moment is we can't find the OBD plug. So it's obviously a converted car. This is an LS. These didn't come LS, so it's converted. And we cannot find the OBD port in order for us to communicate with the ECU. So we're trying to sort that out at the moment. Now, in order just to try and get a bit of an idea, considering this very well could have been a loom built by Dirty South Race Engineering, we have another one here from Dirty South Race Engineering, really conveniently. Now, we pulled that out just to try and see where the OBD was, and I'm going to chuck this in this video just in case I forget about it later. This is actually for another car which we will be filming. It's another maroon, but it's a VR, but we're doing essentially a very similar setup to this spot. You know, not exactly the same, but LS1, 4L60, etc. So this is the loom we got built, and I just wanted to put this in this video so that you can all see it. What do you reckon, Bo? Looks pretty good, don't it?
Nice.
Yeah, so Dirty South Race Engineering. So all we did was pull our LS1 4L60 loom out, and then we pulled the V6 engine loom out of the V6 VR, sent them both down to Dirty South Race Engineering. They worked their magic, sent us back this, which is literally a plug-and-play LS1 loom for a VR. He does them for VR, VS, VN, VP, like heaps of stuff. So to be able to just literally send both looms down, he says now Kith, makes them into one loom, sends it back, and you have a literal plug-and-play LS1 loom for your VR VS. How freaking sick is that? So far from what I've seen of it, it looks really nice. I'm really happy with it. We also got them to do the alternator charge loom for us as well. So we literally just had to put our LS1 4L60 in the car, plug this all in, and everything just freaking works. All your stock dash cluster, all your lights, like everything just freaking works. How sick. Engine, the engine light, the engine warning light works. He also sends you sensors and fittings you need just to get everything working, plus a very, very in-depth instruction. So huge Huge big fan of what this is. For the price you pay, awesome. Saves heaps of work, heaps of bother. For a lot of people, a lot of the general public, the wiring is the most daunting part of doing an engine conversion. It's the hardest and the most expensive. But hey, here we are. How simple, how easy. So huge shout out to Dirty South Race Engineering. Again, has nothing to do with this particular car, but I just want to shout these guys out as much as I can. So I'll shout them out again in the video that comes to what we're actually using this car for. Even a fresh loom grommet plug thing. So very professional, very cool, good stuff. Go check them out, Dirty South Race Engineering. Rightio guys, results are in for the stocker, or what we assume to be a stocker. 310 horsepower at the wheels. That is quite good for what we assume to be stock. It may not be stock, but we have to assume so. Generally stock LS1 auto cars, we normally see like that 280. So you know, that 310, that's good. Anyway, that's what we're starting with. What do you reckon, Bo? Max effort LS1? Oh, we still got to try this without that intake, Rex. So don't pack everything up too hard. We'll pull this intake off. So the fact that it's making 310 and what we assume to be a stock LS1 through this intake is pretty impressive, personally, I reckon. I'd say, yeah, impressed. I'm impressed. All right, let's go, Mr. Employee of the Month. Let's get this off. There you go, 4 horsepower. It's pretty wild. And look at what it's done to fueling all over the shop, the way that map is with no actual intake on it. Yeah,
it was very, you can see on the log too, it's very erratic.
Yeah.
It was causing, it picked up some knock and pulled timing. It sort of wasn't real happy with that whole run. But
yep. Yeah, well,
that's
why we get rid of them.
That is due to the airbox, though. I would say that extra bit up the top there where it's hanging on.
Yep. That's why we eat them. That's why we get rid of them. So anyway, yeah, I believe that our best solution is going to be a mace intake setup. So we'll do some testing when it gets here once it's canned with the mace one, obviously. We'll see how restrictive the mace one is, but as far as intakes on the market, it's, you know, short of just sticking a pod filter in there, mace I think is going to be our best solution. So let's get it. All right, we'll leave this in Bo's capable hands.
Big old pro stock scoop on it.
Big scooper-ooper. Yeah, well, I mean, you could just go high-rise manifold and big air filter through the bonnet, and that'll solve a few problems and probably make even more power than our LS2 manifold. This day and age, you know, back in the 90s, yeah, air filter through the bonnet, sweet, not a problem. But I mean, in this day and age, it just, yeah, not worth it. Not worth the attention. Anyway, let's get it. Righto, guys, I'm back. I'm back. Bo's been smacking this out, as you can see. Motor is going back in. What a legend. Rex and Bo have been having heaps fun time with this thing. Bo's just rushing out to LS his 2nd gen Commodore now. Nope. Bo's pretty unhappy. Just LS converted car things, inherent problems with certain modifications that, I don't know, I haven't been here so I can't really say much about it. I assume that they are probably unavoidable, a lot of them, but just makes it suck to work on, and it's a car. So anyway, it's going back together. So yeah, so it's got our 1212 in it, our CNC porter 243s are all set up. Yeah, wicked. We've got our LS2 manifold here that we sold him with our 1000cc injectors in, ready to go. Because we expect, as we know, like max effort, LS1, we're hoping that we're going to be pretty much out of LS1 injector, because we know LS1 injector will get you to about 420 wheel horsepower for the most part. before you start getting sort of over that 90% duty cycle. So we went ejector upgrade because we are expecting that this thing's going to be out of injector, hopefully. That would be a best case scenario. Not sure what fuel pump and stuff's in it, so we're assuming it's going to be okay, but we'll just find out when we get there. But yeah, it's moving along, cracking along. But yeah, there's a few issues because of the conversion. You know, when the job was booked, and admittedly, even for the other one that we've been talking about doing for quite a while now and getting parts together for, in my head I was just like LS1 4L60 going into second gen Commodore. I figured that everything sort of as far as LS and 4L60 wise would all be factory, but I neglected to think about the fact that you do have to left-hand starter convert them, which means there is conversion parts for the left-hand starter, which does change a few things, and it's not entirely stock just between the LS and the gearbox. So there's a few things in there that I'd failed to think of, but yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, Rex and Bo are kings, and they've got it sorted anyway, and it's going back together, so we'll see. Bo's over here cracking on loving life. Here I was thinking I'd given Bo a pretty good week, just do a cam kit. Yeah. I'll be away for the week. Here you go, just do an LS cam kit. Should be a nice easy one for you. Nah. Doomed into the freaking terriblest, most worstest setup. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how the one we're converting compares. But yeah.
Hopefully better.
Yeah, I freaking hope so. I bloody hope so. How good do our heads look though? Oh, lovely. 2, 4, 3s. Yum. All right, VS is still cracking along. More of my mistakes that I've shoved onto Bo that Bo's now got to deal with because I'm an idiot. But Bo's setting up the LS2 manifold at the moment. We've got our 92mm throttle body on it. We've put the TPS. Is that his TPS or is?
Yeah,
yep.
TPS.
Was an aftermarket one already. Anyway, we chucked yeah, TPS IC and stuff in, so that's all good now. I had completely neglected the thought that, which I seem to have done a lot on this freaking car. Sorry, Bo. You'll have to start managing them yourself. You can start quoting and doing them yourself, because you know more than I do at this point. I had neglected the fact that LS2 is fly-by-wire, and we didn't have a cable throttle bracket in stock to put a cable throttle on them. So you can just buy sandwich brackets, sandwich plates, which you can then mount the cable throttle straight onto, which is what I should have organised, obviously way before now, but I didn't. But anyway, Bo's just looking at sort of seeing if we can make something out of the stock one off his old LS1 manifold at the moment. Try and make something that sort of just bolts to the manifold bolts. If not, it's going to be too hard, it's going to take too long. We'll just order a cable bracket and just have to wait. But you know, it would be nice to get the manifold on and at least get the car running and moving. We're going to have to wait for the intake anyway, which is on the way from Mace, but anyway, yeah, we'll see what Bo comes up with. All right, so we got Bo at the moment mounting up our second transcooler. So it already had a transcooler on it. So this one's, because it's already got one, there's no point in obviously taking it off, but they have already paid for another one. So the plan is to run both. Run them both and get all that trans cooling goodness and keep this 4L as cool as we can and hopefully keep it alive. Time will tell. All right, guys, we're here on a public holiday and we're about ready to fire this thing up. Obviously, we can't tune it or anything until we have our intake, which we're still waiting on from Mace, but if we can start it, check for leaks, do all that, we can come off the hoist and out of the way until we get our intake, and that can be done off the hoist, etc. But be good to hear it. This 1212. LS2 manifold, all the berries, looking forward to it. So that there is the bracket that Bo came up with. What a G. Need a nice little bracket to put on there so that we've got our cable throttle and our LS2 manifold ready to go. Then if you look through here, it's probably a bit hard to see, but there is the original transcooler there that it came on the car, and there's our additional, even bigger one. So a couple of nice heaps of transcooler. Keep this thing nice and cool. Keep this 4L60 alive. our airbox setup finally arrived from Mace, looking good. So if you're fitting one of these to a VRVS, you do have to modify the washer bottle filler neck. And if you don't do what Bo's done here, which is actually weld a little bit of a kick on for the filter actually does contact that neck altogether. So you either have to relocate it and put a generic one in, or run a smaller pod filter to clear it. And either way, well, if you're going to leave it in there, you have to chop it down in order for the cover to go on. Or you could, if you wanted to, hole saw like a hole in the cover, if you wanted to go that way. I'm going to leave that up to this owner. We don't want to go trying to cut into this because it doesn't seem like something that'd be super happy to be chopped and everything else. We don't want to go down that path, but what Bo's done is just shorten the filler neck down so that the lid clears it, and it just means you're going to have to take the airbox lid off to fill the washer bottle, which shouldn't be that big of a deal anyway. Do it once every service or whatever, but with this little bit of a kick Bo's welded onto the intake pipe, that's going to allow it to actually clear everything with the pod filter in there. It comes with a little length of, I think, 3.5 inch tube, or maybe even 3 3/4 or something, because it is designed to fit into the standard MAF part of the intake. So the way it's meant to designed to work is it's meant to use a standard 3rd gen Commodore LS intake sort of boot, the concertina looking ones, which would normally go to your MAF, which would be about here. And it's meant to just have a piece to just remove the MAF, put the piece in and put the pod on. That's how it's designed to work. However, obviously with our car, we're using an aftermarket throttle body, which is bigger for starters, so a stock LS intake boot won't fit. So Bo's made this up. Obviously, not a fan of the blue in here, but this is the only one, the only silicone joint we've got that's gonna fit at the moment. So this is gonna get the job done for now, and probably just won't charge the owner for that and just let them change that to black when they get it back if they wish to. But yeah, it's pretty gross, but it'll do the job as far as just getting it tuned. Might want to change that out for a black one before he goes to any sort of car show or something though, or any sort of meet, but keen to see how this thing goes. Righto guys, so we made it to the dyno, but we had some dramas, not to be unexpected, and obviously you guys that watch the channel know that we are always having fuel pressure dramas with pretty much everything. Now, this car wasn't unexpected to have a fuel pressure issue with what we've done. It was just one of those things that, obviously, having not done many 2nd gen Commodores and knowing that the 3rd gen Commodore fuel pumps are usually up to the task, we just figured we'd leave it and see. Obviously, evidently, not up to the task. Whether that is just the 2nd gen Commodore pump, or whether this particular pump is just old and on its way out, not too sure. When the conversion was done, they've obviously put a filter reg in, which I don't believe these had from factory. So that's obviously been put in as part of the conversion. And I sure hope they weren't from factory, because whoever did this one just put hoses on it and clamped them on. They didn't actually use quick connect fittings. So we're gonna change that also. But yeah, we'll put a new pump in it, change those fittings, make it a bit safer. Don't like playing with fuel system like that. It's not very much fun, very dangerous. So get the fuel system sorted properly. Anyway, and then we'll get it back on the dyno. And after that, we should be right. But it is looking good for where it was. Obviously, with lean outs, you can't make much power, but you can see the difference of where it's trending here before it starts to lean out. We are pretty high. If we trend that line, which we have found with this cam, usually we do trend about the same. You know, that's looking pretty good. So looking forward to that. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Either way, got to get this fuel system sorted, get it back on the dyno next week. But that's all for Friday. We'll see you next week. Righto guys, the results are in. We're sorted. So we just did a test without the intake on just to see if it was restricting us at all. And it turns out it's not really. So 398, that was the last one with the intake on. And then yeah, 393 when Rex pulled it back off. But 398's a good number as far as a converted car goes. So it's one of those things we'd only know as far as, you know, the heads and the intake, the LS2 intake and that sort of thing if we did back to back, because swapped cars or converted cars are always a bit different to if it's just like a regular Commodore. The different pipe design, and then you've got all of the driveline changes as well. So we do always find LS conversions never quite make as much power as, you know, the same amount, the same parts or the same spec cam and everything else in just a Commodore. Rex was saying there's a fair bit of converter, so the converter in this thing is a decent size. So it's 3500 converter. So yeah, I think considering what it is, 400 horsepower, 398 and a half, I think it's a pretty good result. I'd assume that this exact combo of things in a regular Commodore would probably go, you know, 420 plus, which I don't think is unrealistic. But Rex was saying there is like quite a bit of a driveline vibration in this thing as well, which could very well be zapping out a heap of power as well. We do find driveline vibrations, a lot of driveline things can suck quite a bit of power, so might be something going on there. But, you know, for an LS converted car, 400 wheel, that's pretty decent. So decent little combo, should do well. These things are a bit lighter than third gen Commodores, so be interested to see how it goes. And it's nice to know that this intake is actually not really restricting it at all. So yeah, the old Mace LS intakes. This is probably, like I said, this is pretty much a max effort stock bottom LS1, 400 wheel. So these intakes aren't that restrictive at 400 wheel, so that's pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Righto guys, Mean VS is back. So the guys took it. They are very happy with it, but they have had the diff gears done, and it's back with the new diff gears so that we can correct the speedo for starters, but also just correct the shift points in the gearbox tune. We do find that with the diff gears being a bit shorter, you do have to shorten up them shifts a bit, otherwise you do just start to tap limiter. So I believe they've gone 3 9s. I think they've gone 3 9s because they're not really keen or interested in doing a lot of, you know, highway driving, that sort of thing with the car. It is really going to be more lakeside 8th mile, that sort of thing. So I think they went for the shorter gearing option, which should obviously liven it up a heap. So that's really good. Under here with the camera, I don't think I showed you under here last time I was here, but like this exhaust is actually, you know, really quite nice. It is a really well done car, obviously, as we talked about. Bo's not stoked with the conversion kit, but you know, it is a nice car. So we are not using one of these conversion kits for the one that we're converting based off that. And we've gone for a different option, but you'll see that in that video. But anyway, along with the few things we will need to fix with the diff gearing change, we're also been tasked with installing an aftermarket ratchet shifter. So they supplied an Aeroflow, like a Stealth Pro Magnum grip ratchet shifter. Now we've already gone to install it. They also supplied a full Build Ninja gear indicator kit, which we did recently put in that VC, that white VC we did. And that Build Ninja gear is awesome, guys. Well worth the money. It makes things so nice. We're a real big fan of neat, tidy installs, particularly on a car that's so nice and tidy inside still. So that's awesome. We've also got one for the one we're converting to, which you'll see there. But we also need, with the Build Ninja stuff, the Dakota Digital unit to make the lights work, which wasn't installed, so we had to order that anyway. But Bo went and installed the drop box and started looking at installing the shifter yesterday, which is an Aeroflow item. And what we have found is that the way the Aeroflow shifter is set out, the way everything's offset, just isn't really going to work. With the drop box, with the shifter all the way up to the driver's side, it's still, the shifter doesn't align with the actual slot in the stock center console for the shifter, where it should essentially be. The only way to make that work is to either cut out the tunnel and move the drop box over, or modify the drop box, or modify the shifter. Either way, it's a lot of modification just to get the shifter to line up in the stock slot where the stock shifter should be, with that drop box in there. So the second issue with it is that we've got a B&M shifter here just for illustrative purposes, which I'll explain. But the other issue is that on the Aeroflow unit, all the reverse lockout mechanism is all on this side. It's on the driver's side, which is right where we need to put our Build Ninja, or where the stock gear indicator is, which is where the Build Ninja gear indicator has to go. And the issue with that is that the Build Ninja indicator will then foul and clash with the reverse neutral lockout, or reverse park lockout, I should say. And it just was not going to work. The only way to make it work is to, like I said, modify the floor pan or the drop box, and then also modify the linkage and the whole setup for the reverse lockout. which even then, I don't even think that would, you know, actually work. So it appears that all the B&M shifters are the opposite, where the reverse lockout is always on the other side, of the passenger side, as far as Australia is concerned, but also as far as where the shifter actually sits in relation to the offset to the mounting holes is opposite to the Airflow one as well. So just to note, guys, if you're looking at doing aftermarket shifter installs in something like this, it looks like B&M definitely is the way to go. It appears that Airflow, just all of the offsets and the reverse lockout and everything is just all wrong to work with what we're trying to do with this car. So I'll show you more as we get back into it. It's all obviously up in the air and the stuff in the way, so I'm not going to go into it right now, but yeah, we'll show you some more of that as it goes. But yeah, it looks like B&M's the way. If you're trying to do this sort of shifter conversion, stay away from Airflow. It makes it really hard and a lot of modification to make it work. All right, Bo's just gone home for the day, but this is looking wicked. Looking real nice, real good. Big install. As you can see, that Build Ninja gear indicator just looks awesome. I'll take you through some operation tomorrow, and Bo's nice little modification for the reverse neutral lockout. Really, really good. Reverse park lockout, I should say. So at the moment, the only thing we're looking at is we're going to see if my VS still has this surround in it, because this one's got the power and eco button, which is not going to work now with this shifter. So we're hoping my VS doesn't have this button, and we can maybe put a different, like just the blank in there and get rid of it altogether. Be just a bit nicer. But anyway, we'll just have a look. If mine's got it, we'll use it. If not, it can just be there and not have a function. It is what it is. It'll be fine. Righto, guys. So the VS is all sorted. Pretty much ready to go home. It's going home this afternoon. Rex has done the gearbox tune and recalibrated for the new diff gears, and everything's working and it's awesome. And yeah, it's really pepped this thing up heaps, which you knew it would. But yeah, it really was suffering from those standard diff gears. But I'll give you a look at this install. As you can see here, about as factory as you can get something like this looking. The icing on the cake would be to try and get a surround from like a VNVP, which it had a 4L60, not a 4L60E, so it doesn't have the power and economy button, which means that you could have a surround without that there at all, and that would be the icing on the cake. But unfortunately, you know, it's one of those things we don't have here, and we can't really afford the time to go chase them up and stuff. But being that the shift has changed, obviously that button no longer has a purpose. So anyway, that's the install, that's the shifter. Get the key on so you can see how cool this Build Ninja stuff is. So you've got park there, green light for park. You got to go 2 clicks back for reverse, because park to reverse is a double space. That's pretty much the same with all shifters, so that's your reverse. Back to neutral, back to fourth, third, second, first. You got first, second, third, fourth. Can't go to neutral. Have to use the neutral lockout. Then you got neutral, reverse, and then you double to park. And it's that simple. So yeah, really cool install. We will be doing essentially the exact same install on the VR that we are converting, which will be happening very soon. Now I'll start this up because I'll always get people asking about the 1212, how it sounds at idle, this cam. And I'm a big fan of this cam. It's a really nice cam, as you guys know, our go-to. So I'll let this warm up and settle itself after its startup procedure, and I'll do a walk around. You can actually hear what the 1212 sounds like at idle. Now this, there's no ghost cam in this either, so this is just absolutely just cam noise, what the cam sounds like, and I'll show you what that is. So there you go, guys. That's all cam too, that's no ghost. But anyway, that's it for the big bad VS, mean VS. I'm a real big fan of this car. I said that at the start of this video. I love it. Love the shape of this. I love the shape. I love it on these wheels, this color in this wheels, and then you know, icing on the cake, having it so factory inside, and then having such a, you know, tidy shifter install, all the rest. It's just a really nice car. But yeah, really awesome. They're coming to pick it up this afternoon. You'll be able to see it out about at Lakeside and things like that, I'm sure. They'll be getting around enjoying it. But thanks for watching as always, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Hit like, Smash subscribe. Peace out, see you, bye.